Heart on My Sleeve by Ella Mai is a solid, dope, amazing album, and I'd lie if I said that it hadn't inspired me because it actually did. So, in this episode, we're breaking down a quintessential Ella Mai type beat, which I think would definitely fit on Heart on My Sleeve. Let's go. Now, Heart on My Sleeve, in my opinion, sits very comfortably at a 7.5. That means that it's a solid album all around. I don't get bored of listening to it. Production is immaculate. It's amazing. It's super solid. Also, I have to say the hit singles were chosen perfectly. Of course, she started off in 2020 with Not Another Love Song, still lives rent free in my head. Then, around the beginning of this year, we got Don't Fuck Me Up, and then she topped it off with Leave You Alone. And wow, that song is living rent free in my head. I think it's perfectly produced. It's just that after 4 years between Trip and this album, it didn't blow me away as I thought it would. The production is good, but I feel that it wasn't as diverse. It was kind of more of the same, and I do think it's lacking a little bit in cohesiveness. However, it is still a very strong contemporary R&B album, and we're trying to do that justice by breaking down this Ella Mai type beat that I made today. So let's head into FL Studio. Alright, you amazing people, welcome back into FL Studio, and it's a beautiful day to break down this Ella Mai type beat. Just a general overview of the beat. Layering is absolutely the name of the game. All I really did is I had a dope chord progression, which I started spicing up with a little bit of licks, some grace notes, some passing notes, and some passing chords. And I just kept layering and layering that. I started off with the stage 73, which is an electric piano, of course. I layered it with the OBXA, with the Lo-Fi Midnight, the CZV twice. I even recorded the entire sample, and I've got it posted up here with some processing in it. In terms of drum beats, I think the drum beats I'm using, no, Siri, please don't. The drum beats I'm using are very reminiscent of classic Ella Mai songs that you heard on Trip, mostly the ones produced by DJ Mustard. But if you want to reference them with songs from the current album, I think that How, the song with Roddy Ricch, Trying, which I think is the intro song, and then there's that dope song with Lotto. I think that those are the best reference in terms of drums. But let's just head into the chord progression. Now, when looking at this chord progression, it looks intricate, but the basis is really simple. The basis is actually a 3, 4, 5 chord progression, with the 5 serving as the climax, of course, because the 5 is the dominant in whatever key and whatever scale you're working in. I'm actually using the 5th twice, and then I'm heading down back to resolve to the 1. So that's the chord progression. It's 3, 4, 5, 1 essentially, and I spice it up with some passing chords. If you look at the actual chords that I use, well, I'm starting off here with the 3rd degree in the scale of E minor, which is a G major 7, of course. After that, I goes into this A dominant 7 chord. Now, y'all know that the 4th chord in the minor scale is actually meant to be a minor chord, a regular minor chord. I took this 3rd, I pitched it up, turning into a dominant chord, which makes that transition onto this B7 sus4 just a bit more sweeter. You know, there are certain chords that really invoke that R&B feel. Those are, of course, your dominant 7 chords and your 7 sus4 chords, and I decided to use them both. Now, after that, I'm just playing a regular 5th, which is this B minor 7 right here, so we're still rocking with the 5th degree. After that, I decide to go back to my 1, right? So I go to this beautiful E minor 13th chord right here. You can see it. This is a minor 7. This turns it into a minor 9. This turns it into a minor 11. This turns it into a minor 13th. And I rarely use them. However, I decide to make that landing from the 5th to the 1st, even though we already know it already lands great, like the 5th always resolves nicely to the 1st. I wanted to add some classic R&B flavor, and I decided to add this little A dominant 7 chord with a flat 9 as a passing chord right here. Now, while we're on the subject of passing chords, of course, I also use this little A augmented 7 chord, this A sharp augmented 7 chord right here to make that jump from that 7 sus4 to the 5, you know, just a little bit more tension filled, just to give it a little bit of an R&B spice. And I think the last actual passing chord that I used is this diminished chord right here. So the passing chords that I've been using are 7 sus4, augmented chords, a 7 flat 9, and a diminished 7 chord. Now keep those in mind. I did a video on that. You're seeing it here on the screen right now. Check it out if you want to know a little bit more about your passing chords. Now the last thing I did with this chord progression to really invoke that R&B feel, and bear in mind we've already done a lot to get that classic R&B feel. We're using an electric piano, which is a staple in R&B beats, which you can also hear on Trying, which is the first track off of Heart on My Sleeve. But we're always also using passing chords. Now another way to really spice that up is to add licks in between or just to play around with the notes. So you can see I actually chopped up the notes of this chord to get this little movement right here. Hold on. Simple, just like that. Here you can see I'm playing with some grace notes right here. This little note that's playing right after the G hits. I've got a little staircase right here, a little minor motive right here, and here and here. So that's basically how I invoke another R&B feel. It really adds a good amount of movement to your chord progression, makes it very dynamic. Cool, so the theory was probably the most important part of this beat because everything just started coming together after that. I already done told you I started layering, so I took out another patch because I wanted to alternate between a patch in the beginning and a patch that's really playing when the beat is picking up. So I'm using two patches in the stage 73, the dark funk keys, which is the primary patch you're hearing in the beginning, and I use this Mark V-ish patch which you're using hearing throughout the the verse section. Wow. I supplemented that with the OBXAV, Ella Mai Heart disc. I did tweak the patch just a little bit, play with the portamento, of course. Let me just take out the layers so I can play them individually. This right here is going to be your OBXA right here. Oh boy, and it just gets better and better. Let me just break down the CZ key patch as well. So I already referred to it once, but Loophole has an amazing tutorial on how you can create some wavy keys of your own. I really should probably save them, but basically play with the portamento, play with the vibrato, play with the envelope, slap some effects onto there by activating the advanced tab and going to FX, and that's how you get your keys to sound like this. Cool, so after that, it was time to take out Lo-Fi Midnight right here. I took out the Crystal Cascades patch right here, and that really started completing the rest of my sample, causing it to sound like this. And after that, just to add some icing on the cake, I took all of the chord patterns, so this one, this one, this one, and this one. I recorded it, I pitched it up by an entire octave, I sent it to a mixer track which has the following processing on it: Neutron Freeze EQ, Little Altar Boy, Portal, Crystallizer, Shaper Box 2, and that's why it now sounds like this. So earlier in the video, I talked about what I think is the quintessential Ella Mai beat, which has a quintessential drum beat. I already gave y'all some references. Now that quintessential drum beat sounds a little bit like this, to me at least. So if I had to tell you what the essentials are absolutely a snap. Go for a snap. A clap, sure, but a snap really gets you that quintessential Ella Mai kind of DJ Mustard sound from around like 2015 to 2017 to Trip, of course. Perks are also very important. This particular perk is very important. You really want that perk. this one, sure, as well, but it's this one that you really want. And I use the cowbell because I'm a sucker for that cowbell, of course. I'm a sucker for that TR-808, of course. So now the 808 is actually a fundamental part as well. You want an 808 that's very boomy, that has a good amount of tail end, that has a good amount of attack too. You can actually see I set the attack to the beginning because I wanted to hit. Now often these Ella Mai drum beats, they omit the kick. They sometimes don't have the kick. They just have an 808 with a lot of attack that sounds really springy, that has a lot of bounce, and it has plenty of growl, so it's noticeable in the low end. So just a quick overview, I got most of these sounds from a Big White Beats kit because they are just goated with the sauce. I got this 808 from a different kit, and these are all perks from a Cash Money AP kit. So let me just play that drum beat again. Now, if I gotta look at my processing for this beat, it's pretty bare bones. I have most of my drums just sent to a drum bus, of course, because I like to put them together, compress them so that they are more pronounced, you know, add some tightness to them, of course. And when it comes to my instruments, well, the only thing that I used to have a vocal sample. I removed it because I didn't think it was adding anything to the beat. This filtered sample, I broke down the processing on that, of course, and the rest really is just mostly EQ, well, not with this one, Portal, really setting it apart, and Crystallizer. I like this combination. It's both just granular synthesis, but this is a delay, and this really makes it sound wavy and vibey and super spacey. Shaper box on the OBXA, play a little bit with the filter, of course, and the pan. And that's kind of it. So bare bones, really. And beautiful folks, that concludes my breakdown of what I think is a dope Ella Mai type beat. Hey, good folks, I realized that this video is a bit longer than you're used to lately, of course, but I wanted to leave no crumbs. I wanted to leave nothing undiscussed in this video, of course. I went a little bit more in depth about the theory because, you know, as I make these beats, I learn a lot more, and I also become a lot more aware of the decisions I make, and I just want to share the most important bits of my thought process with y'all. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, of course, like, share, and subscribe. Run and tell all your friends about Valentine the Plug. Let them join the crew, have them sub, of course, and I'm gonna hope to see y'all in the next video. Peace.